Hello, and welcome to the Ovarian Club, a glimpse into conversations between two besties across countries, South Africa and France, tackling the trendiest women's wellness topics through a scientific lens. Join me, Dr. Tarryn, and health expat Emma as we explore delicate subjects related to the women's health space. We started this podcast to share our conversations to help navigate the complex women's wellness world. We hope you enjoy the podcast and take away as much from it as we've enjoyed making it. The Ovarian Club, powering life, nurturing health, shaping sustainable wellness. So, my follicle friends, let's begin.
How's it, Ta?
Hello. How are you, Em?
I'm good. I'm having a lot of technological issues today, so I'm just praying that all of this goes smooth sailing. It just feels like one of those days. I think, Mercury is in retrograde or something like that. I don't know. How about you?
I'm really good, Em. I am so excited to talk collagen today. I actually introduced the subject to a few of my patients that came in today. And I told them that we'd be speaking about collagen. They asked me so many questions. I was like, wait until the episode and then you'll tune in to learn more. And they're really, really excited. So it's just like super trending. I don't know. I mean, it's popped up all over my social media. I don't know about you.
Well, I think it has been for a long time, but I mean, I don't know if you just saw that thing from Kim Kardashian with the face sculpting thing where it's collagen yarn or something like that, and it's infused collagen, and you obviously have collagen gummies, and people are putting collagen in their coffees, and collagen is definitely everywhere, and I think it is part of everyone's routine. It used to be part of my daily routine, by the way, but I haven't taken collagen for quite a while because, I mean, for those who know me, I love skincare and all of that stuff, and I'd be the first person to be I was the first person to kind of be brought into
you were the pioneer.
Collagen. A pioneer. Yeah. No, but I kind of went off the taste. Like the taste and the texture really started getting to me, and I do appreciate that there's many different forms of collagen. So I'd love to talk about that today and just get an understanding around what are the better forms. I personally did notice a difference. Honestly, I think I even noticed a difference in my energy levels, but I think that's probably psychosomatic. But I genuinely did notice a difference in my skin. And I have read that a lot of research is just based very much on what people think how their skin has a very qualitative assessments, subjective. Sure. So I really want to go into that today. But before we do, a couple of disclaimers. This podcast certainly does not represent any of the views of the company that I work for or any of the companies I may be invested in. And with that, over to you.
And yes, also just a disclaimer from my side, although I am a qualified medical doctor, this podcast does not serve to offer any personal medical advice. So always seek advice from your own healthcare provider with regard to any condition or treatment you may be seeking. So without further ado, let's get into it.
And I have to just make one upfront comment about my accent and how much it's shifting. A colleague friend of mine has been listening, so shout out to her, and is a big fan of collagen, so it definitely has helped with the prep for this research, but was kind of laughing and saying that she could tell which episode I was in South Africa because you could hear how distinctly South African my accent was. So let's just see how strongly that does come through, but without further ado, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. We can pray. Yes. What is collagen? Let's start there. I know, proteins, protein shakes, all of that kind of stuff. Collagen gets thrown up in the mix, but what is collagen?
So collagen, simply put, is the most abundant protein in the human body. It provides strength and support to various connective tissues such as tendons, ligaments, cartilage, skin, and bones. Many people would argue that collagen is actually not technically complete protein. We'll get into the science a bit later on in the podcast. But for all intents and purposes, it is a type of protein that almost acts as a glue to hold the body together. So it's made up of various amino acids, as is the case of all proteins. And these amino acids are primarily glycine and proline, and they basically all form the building blocks and form fibrous chains that provide strength and elasticity to various parts of our body. So that is, in a nutshell, what collagen is. Yes.
So it is, in a way, a protein, but not a complete protein.
Yes.
I know a lot of people are taking it for their skin elasticity, skin health, clear skin, etc. Other anti-aging, are there any other reasons why someone would look to take collagen?
Yeah, so I mean, there is mild to moderate evidence that it can actually improve skin elasticity and hydration. We can also chat about the limitations with all these studies. They're not the most robust. But apart from the skin, it also serves a role in joint health. So there's some mild to moderate evidence in certain studies looking at osteoarthritis patients and collagen supplementation that has shown that there has been a small improvement in pain symptomatology. However, again, the sample sizes were very small in these studies. And also, the effects were not shown to be that clinically significant. So that's why they say it's mild evidence. So skin and joints would be the two big indications for collagen. But then there's a lot of other proposed claims which have not been held up to high standard in clinical trials. So bone
Such
health,
as?
like osteoporosis, collagen is not a recommended treatment or preventative measure for the onset of osteoporosis. There's also gut health. I mean, it's really, the evidence is quite weak that supplementing with collagen alone is going to improve your gut. But there are claims that exist that it can do so. Uh, and then the other ones are, hair, that's a big one. Hair and nails. Those are other purported claims. A lot of people anecdotally have found it to be the case.
I did, at least with my nails.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the studies looking at the nails and the skin were collagen in combination with other important proteins versus placebo. So it's difficult to attribute it to the collagen alone. Was it the collagen or was it the biotin or the other substances that were in the capsules? So it's difficult to tease out from the literature. But what I can tell you is that it's a fair hypothesis because collagen, being a protein, can kind of act as the building blocks to hair growth, right? Because your hair requires protein in order to grow. But having said that, if you are eating a nutritious diet high in protein, you're getting your intake elsewhere, you don't necessarily need to rely on collagen alone. And also, there are other far more important molecules that have been shown to have proven benefit, like, for example, biotin. There's a lot more out there with biotin than hair growth. Or, for example, minoxidil is a topical treatment to support hair growth. Collagen, the studies are not quite as suggestive that it can work.
And if you're, for example, taking collagen, let's say for your skin, but you're saying it's the protein and it's the fact that it's a protein and that's what's supporting the skin health, why would you not just take a protein shake, for example, or just straight protein? And I've kind of heard some very mixed things about this, right? In general, the studies seem to be a bit dubious. It's very qualitative, very subjective, based on people's kind of reporting. But if it is a full protein, what are your thoughts? And I think, again, the literature seems to be really mixed on this one. And some people are like, for skin, collagen itself is much better. But, wouldn't it be better just to take a protein shake, for example, or protein supplements, which are full protein?
Absolutely. I would argue yes. And I wouldn't even necessarily say one should go as far as to take a protein shake. Just ensure that you're eating an all-encompassing diet. And if you're not getting it from the diet, then yes, perhaps supplementing with a shake could do the trick. Certainly more so than collagen supplementation alone can. So yes, I would agree with that statement, Em.
I'm kind of curious on your thoughts on that because I've heard mixed things about that. I have heard that, protein obviously is much more important for, bone density, your muscle growth, whatever it may be. Collagen for the skin. And I guess that's also about how the body digests collagen and protein, etc., and where that lands up within the body, right? I mean, kind of want to dig into that one a little bit and play devil's advocate, but I am really curious on your thoughts on that.
Yes, definitely. So that's actually a very valid point you raised. Collagen does not cause muscle synthesis like other sources of protein does. So for example, like whey protein. So collagen, because it lacks two very key amino acids, tryptophan and leucine, which are required for the building blocks of building muscle, collagen cannot build muscle. So collagen is never indicated for like bulking. You never take it for that. Do not take collagen for muscle bulking because it lacks a complete amino acid profile.
But for skin health, it's, potentially could be beneficial. Evidence still out there, but potentially even taking a protein shake in addition to your diets may be more beneficial for the skin than Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's exactly what you're hearing. And I think also just to further reiterate that although there is mild to moderate evidence there that it may be beneficial for the skin, you kind of alluded to it earlier that the studies are quite problematic in their self-reporting, right? So it's completely subjective based. So a lot of patients might report significant changes, but it's difficult to objectively measure these changes. So that's point number one. Point number two is a lot of these studies have small sample sizes. And number three, the third point is that patients' lifestyle habits can also influence their skin. So in other words, there's confounding factors. So patients supplementing with collagen who also put on sunscreen, who also eat healthily, highly nutritious diet, they might see good, nice effects, whereas the other group doesn't. But it's not because of the collagen alone; it's because of the confounding factors. And then the fourth point is industry funding. So a lot of the studies are industry funded. So it's very difficult as a scientist to tease out what's actually statistically significant or not. But, given all of that, if you look at the meta-analyses and the really high quality papers, there does seem to be some mild to moderate effect when it comes to skin health.
I think it's such an important thing because I think the wellness industry is so overwhelming, and I do feel that collagen is also often touted as the win-all, the secret recipe to youthful skin and aging and everything. And I think that whilst I have heard obviously the safety profile, so there is obviously a lower risk, I don't think you risk much in taking collagen. And as you say, what I've heard is it's a very nice adjunct to your diet, to not smoking, not drinking, doing other things, and it can help. But that said, I did take collagen and I did notice a difference. And I did notice that my skin felt a little bit more supple, my nails. But I guess I've also often thought, because I'm mainly vegetarian, I do eat a bit of fish. Is it potentially because of that? So let's dig into that. Where do you get collagen from in terms of the diet? Is that enough?
Yeah.
And then we can break down into what kind of forms collagen comes in, including collagen infused yarn, facial wraps.
So collagen itself is found in animal-based foods, which is a sad reality for vegetarians and vegans. It's found mostly in animal-based foods in their connective tissues, in their skin and bones, right? This is where the conversation gets a bit grimy. But basically, the highest sources of collagen that can be obtained from the diet can come in the form of bone broth, chicken and fish skins. But if that's a bit eerie and gross for you, you can opt for simply protein-rich food alternatives like eggs, dairies, legumes, slightly more palatable. And then also similarly, vitamin C-rich foods such as citrus berries and peppers. There's some claims that vitamin C acts as a cofactor, which kind of enhances collagen's actions. Studies are not that conclusive when it comes to that, but I suppose there's no harm in, just eating that when you take your collagen. I mean, they're healthy foods anyway, so you've got nothing to lose by consuming high vitamin C. And then copper and zinc sources such as nuts, seeds, these similarly act as cofactors in collagen cross-linking, so collagen formation. So those are the kind of foods to look out for.
And sorry, when you say cofactors, and is that it can maybe stimulate your body? Because that's also something actually you triggered. Something that I did hear in some of the studies that I came across is that collagen maybe doesn't go straight to your skin, or it doesn't necessarily, the collagen from the source doesn't necessarily do that, but it may make the body actually synthesize that or create more collagen within the body. Yeah. Is that what you're saying? Is that kind of cofactor? Is that what that is?
It can basically stimulate its synthesis again, because the thinking is, who's to say in consuming collagen in the form of a capsule or powder where it gets broken up into the various amino acid components and digested in the body, who's to say that it kind of rebuilds and then, elicits its effect? And that's why there are studies looking at exactly this. Does it actually, does oral supplementation replace collagen production in the body or produce collagen production in the body? But the studies have actually shown, with mild to moderate evidence that yes, it does, because some studies do show some relatively clinically significant effects when it comes to skin and joints, with all the limitations that we mentioned. But yes, the cofactors most certainly help in boosting its production again.
So you mentioned the sources, direct sources of collagen in terms of animals like bovine and fish and stuff. And I know that you do get marine collagen and you do get bovine collagen. Are there differences in that? Is one kind of more potent than the other?
I mean,
Has anything
just
kind
for
of been shown?
Yeah, just for our listeners. So, as you said, bovine collagen is derived from the bones and connective tissues of cows. It's rich in type 1 and type 3 collagen, which are abundant in the skin and bones and ligaments of the cow's connective tissues, whereas marine collagen is sourced from the skin and scales of fish, right? And it's also, this type of collagen is mainly type 1 collagen. Like, I can't say I've looked at studies specifically comparing marine versus bovine, but based on the assumption that the bovine contains types 1 and 3, which both are useful for skin, I would probably lean more towards that one, but I can't say conclusively, from my own research that that is the case. It's just my assumption.
And I think kind of digging then on from that, you collagen also
Yes.
comes right in many different forms, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a hard question to add on because I think so much of this is just like subjective studies. But you have collagen in skincare, you have collagen in powder form, you have
Mm-hmm.
collagen in liquid form, you have collagen that people put in their coffees, collagen that I mean there's so many different ways that collagen is coming about. I guess I kind of have two questions. Is there a
Yeah.
better form? Is one better than the other? And then also, how much should people be taking? Because I feel like the two are very linked, right? Because you may have
Yeah.
a high potency of collagen or something like that in one form, and then people tout it as, this is collagen infused skincare or this is collagen infused, I don't know, soap, pillow slips or God knows what. But is there actually does that mean anything? Is there a percentage that you should
Okay.
be supposedly intaking?
Okay, so let's just summarize the forms that collagen comes in. You've got the capsule form, you've got powder form, you've got gummy bears. When comparing powder versus capsule, I would argue that perhaps the powder form might be better. And this is because you can manipulate the dose in the form of scoops that you ingest, right? So basically, this could enable you to receive a higher content of collagen. Okay. Whereas the capsule form, it's limited. It's basically set. It's all in a capsule. You can't alter the dose, right? You just ingest what you ingest. But obviously, it's practical for like travel purposes and whatnot. And when it comes to the dosing, I mean, the dosing guidelines there's a big range, but from my research, it's 2 grams to 10 grams a day. And I appreciate that it's a big range, but it depends on what your end goal is. Typically, like the joint stuff would require a higher dose as opposed to the skin. But I think, 2 scoops of powder would probably equate to, a number of grams in between the 2 to 10 range. And that's the dose that you'd go for.
And topically, like actually
Yes.
ingesting it versus topical
Yeah.
application?
So, yeah, it's a good question. And I attempted to research this, and I never found any papers directly comparing oral versus topical application. But just from my understanding of the science, the topical application does not form collagen synthesis. It doesn't boost its production from within. It basically acts as like a layer. Um, the collagen molecules basically are too large to penetrate the epidermis, so they mostly act as a hydrating film forming agent that overlies the skin. And they do this as opposed to stimulating collagen synthesis from within, either via ingestion of collagen supplementation or just eating a diet rich in protein. So I would argue that the latter is more important if you're actually wanting to boost your collagen synthesis, oral over topical.
Yeah, but if you're thinking about like the skincare and all the skincare, it's like the anti-aging creams that are collagen anti-aging creams. What you're basically saying is that probably just locks in moisture, right? So that just helps to keep your skin moisturized and kind of locks in that moisture and skin barrier probably protection as
Yeah.
opposed to maybe actually creating the collagen that would then reduce the fine lines. The fine lines are reduced probably because of the moisture as opposed to, or skin barrier repair as
Yes.
opposed to collagen production.
That's how I interpreted it, yes. So I would say oral over topical. When it comes to topical application, we've already discussed it loads in our Pop the Pimple episode, but we'll quickly, as a recap, if you're wanting to optimize your skin health, really stick to the basics. Wear sunscreen, use a topical retinol or retinoid on script. There's way more studies that have demonstrated that retinoids are effective at anti-aging as opposed to collagen supplementation in any form. There's way more robust evidence there. Niacinamide, also to some extent, vitamin C, great antioxidant, and it's very good at hyperpigmented lesions. So if you basically just stick to those pillars, you also don't smoke, don't drink too much, you're getting good sleep, those factors alone are way more important than a topical collagen cream or even just oral supplementation alone.
I guess that for some people, I mean, okay, I know people trying to get pregnant, yes, people that have, rosacea, people that have damaged skin barriers, they obviously can't take your retinoids, and that is not allowed. So I guess it's like kind of a question then. So then I think maybe they would be looking for alternatives. So people mainly take it for anti-aging, and I think we've spoken a little bit on the retinoid thing around who can and can't take it. Is there anyone who supposedly should be taking collagen? Because I think we're kind of saying that, it's not, is it maybe vegetarians that are not getting this through their diet? Is it maybe people that are aging that are maybe not breaking down proteins correctly? I know you're a big one in saying kind of blood tests and everything before taking supplementation, but I guess there's no blood test for this.
No.
So
no, there's no one who should be taking it. I wouldn't say that collagen is a must for anyone, provided you're having an all-encompassing diet. Now, vegans is a tricky one because in theory, if a vegan's not really mindful of how he or she's eating, the protein intake may be slightly reduced, and this could lead to problems down the line. However, collagen supplementation is not vegan, so it's very difficult to make them or to force them to supplement with something that's not vegan. Now, I did actually research this, and there are some vegan alternatives that are biosynthesized in a lab. There are no studies available that looks at the efficacy of this synthesized lab-grown collagen in trials. But it's something for vegans potentially to explore. But I would say what's more important is that the vegan just looks at his or her diet and really tries to get in plant-based sources of protein as a priority over collagen supplementation. So no, I'd say there's no group that should absolutely take it. There's more specifically a group that shouldn't take it. And I would say all pregnant women, I mean, in theory, it shouldn't be harmful. It's just that no studies have been done on pregnant women and collagen supplementation. So the verdict's not really out. Maybe just be careful if you're pregnant. And if you also have pre-existing kidney or liver disease, just be mindful of what you put in because it can be metabolized through those organs and excreted through the organs. So you don't want to put extra strain on your body system. And also, of course, if you have known allergies to shellfish or fish, if you're taking the marine one or bovine. So if you're known with allergies or general hypersensitivity, would probably avoid. But yeah.
So what's the final verdict? I mean, I think we've discussed a lot. What I'm kind of taking, just to kind of summarize what we discussed, I feel like a lot of people are touting the benefits, myself included, of collagen just based on very subjective findings and what you kind of sense that you've noticed visibly an improvement in your skin, but there isn't necessarily any valid backing behind this. So if you feel like it's working for you, then definitely go for it and continue to do it. Just obviously collagen is expensive. It's not, it's not cheap. Obviously you have to think about the ethical concerns if that's something that you are considering. And otherwise you should be looking at getting more protein from your food. And that is probably a better way as opposed to supplementing collagen.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're probably not going out there and going shopping for collagen. And one of the big things that I'm taking away from it is collagen skincare or anything collagen topical is probably, just marketing.
I reckon so, I mean, look, am I recommending it to my patients? No. Are other doctors and dermatologists doing so? Yes, probably. It's very subjective. Some clinicians swear by it, others are less convinced. I'm probably leaning more on the less convinced side, but if it works for you and you can afford it and you got your lifestyle factors in check, that must be the basis. And if you want to just experiment with it, it's not going to do much harm. Worst case scenario, you might get some mild bloating or gastrointestinal complaints. But apart from that, there are very little side effects. But I just want to reiterate, and a point that we haven't really mentioned yet is that you must make sure that the supplement that you're buying is certified, it's undergone third-party testing, because you don't want to take a supplement that's contaminated with heavy metals. So just be very wary of that, and make sure that there's no additives, like we never mentioned the gummies, which is another form of collagen. I would stay far away from that, because it's not regulated, a lot of the supplement industries. Some people, there's some studies have even shown, like on further investigation of these gummy bears, if you actually like break it down in a lab, there's like no collagen in there. So just be very careful that you're getting it from a reputable source. Yeah.
I think that point is really spot on. I did actually hear that with regards to gummies for creatine. There were gummy bears apparently that were sold and they actually didn't have any creatine in them at all. And I think that there is a lack of standardization or lack of checks and balances within the wellness industry to really verify and control the sources. And I think a lot of people also, myself included, if you buy something online, you think, okay, yeah, this must be fine and this must be vetted and this is okay, and there you are on Amazon. First of all, I think there's a lot of fake stuff out there and it could be potentially dangerous. You don't know what's in there. And I think that lack of quality control, how do you check the safety profile? So how would you know that you're buying something from a reputable place, or that what is something that says this is a checked and verified source and I'm safe at taking it?
Yeah. So, you must look at the accreditation on the label and do your research, actually. Unfortunately, the onus is on the consumer to look up the company, double check that it's undergone what's called third-party testing. So just ensure that that's the case. And also look at the ingredients, and like you can see if it's pure collagen or if there's like other additives added in there that you might have a sensitivity to. And like reviews, I think is also quite valid. But yeah, the onus really is on you as the consumer to actually do your research. And that's the problem with the supplement industry in general. Because what does a consumer know at the end of the day? We're so fooled into the marketing trap. But this is why we do this podcast, for you guys all to just be very mindful of this. And another question, I'm sorry, that a lot of patients have asked me with regard to collagen supplementation, not that I'm so sold on it, but they ask me what time of day they must take it. I don't know from your research if you have any thoughts or comments on it, but I'm happy to share what
I don't, but I was kind of curious whether, because I know that a lot of people do mix it into their coffees. And I know like if you go to Vita-E and stuff like that, you can have collagen in your coffee and you can like pay for an extra supplement of collagen, which I think, sounds great in theory. But I've also heard that coffee does kind of interact a lot with that. So I would assume that a lot of people are taking it in the mornings and that's the best time of day. But yeah, curious on the time of day. That's a great question. And I guess also how should you be taking it, or how shouldn't you be taking it? It's a good one.
Yeah. So actually, there's no strong evidence for the best time of the day. Mornings, yes, do work for a lot of patients because it's just a part of like habit building. Wake up in the morning, it's like your morning routine. You have your collagen, be it in coffee, be it with water. So you could take it any time of day. It really doesn't matter. And with regard to putting in your coffee, the collagen peptides are in fact heat stable. So adding them in coffee is not going to break it down. You're going to digest it just as well as you would without a hot drink. It's basically like the same as eating a protein, right? Having a protein like an egg with your coffee. You know what I mean? So there's no right time of day, and you can really take it in any form. Well, you could take it with anything. There's no specific instructions.
Well, I think I don't know. To be honest with you, I was thinking about going off and buying collagen before we had this conversation, but now I feel slightly less sold on it. But again, I
stick to the creatine instead.
Yeah. Which you also not sold on.
I'm also not sold on it, actually. You are. No, it's fine. Like, I think, go and try it. And as I said, if it works for you, if you can afford it, great. It's not going to cause you much harm. The biggest harm is draining your wallet and not seeing the effects that you want. But that's okay. That's on you. Don't say I didn't warn you. And if it works, then fantastic. Like, keep it up, keep doing it, provided you don't have the contraindications. I'm not so sold. I'm going to stick to my great skincare routine. But yeah, if you want to explore collagen as an alternative, you may go ahead and do so.
What I may say, though, is think twice before you go out and buy collagen-infused yarn, which was definitely a new one for me. But anyways, thank you so much for listening in to the Ovarian Club. Please don't forget to hit subscribe, and also please leave comments or rate us or anything. We would so appreciate your feedback, and don't forget to follow us at the Ovarian Club on Instagram.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was great chatting as always, and we'll definitely see you soon when we discuss another exciting topic. The Ovarian Club, powering life, nurturing health, shaping sustainable wellness. We'll see you soon, follicle friends.